So let me first tell you what the macro environment is set up as, right? Uh, See, India is the only young and fast growing economy in the entire world. China has already seen uh, a huge economic growth. Now their populations have started decreasing. The second thing is that there is a big trade war between US and communist China. Uh, and the rules and regulations are such that investments in China look a little difficult to do, right? Plus, their best time has probably been behind. They will, of course, continue to do well for a long time in the future, but the pace of growth and change will probably not be that high. What makes money for the investor is not where you start and where you end, right? The pace of change, of pace of improvement is what you make money. US is again a mature economy. It's the best economy in the world. It will continue to be the best economy in the world for a long time. But again, the pace of change is probably not going to be very high. Europe is old and non-growing, right? So the only bright spot today is young India. Second, we have to appreciate that each country has gone through a phase of demographic dividend. What it means is that the number of people in the working age population is maximum and young and educated. So England went through this phase in 1800s, US went through this phase in I believe up to 1950, 1960. Japan went through this phase in 1960, 70. Japan and Singapore. South Korea went through 80s, 90s. China went through 90s, 2000s, 2010s, right? So every economy which went through this demographic dividend has done phenomenally well in the 20, 30, 40 year span. That is where we are positioned. So this is what India is for you. Definitely a certain portion of your investments has to be allocated to India because the pace of growth is going to outpace everybody else. The second part is, I think everybody is worried about currency depreciation. When if you look at the last 40-year history, currency has depreciated for India. But what is happening today? So let me take 2 minutes to see what is happening, right? See, with all this, so first thing that has happened is that India has always been a big energy importer, right? And that used to always weigh heavy on our current account deficits. And consequently, all the other factors like currency reserves and all that stuff, right? Today, IT exports from India are larger than oil imports, right? And IT exports are growing faster than oil imports. So the fundamental structure of the Indian economy has changed in the last, say, 7 or 8 years. And chances of India facing trouble on the external currency front have dramatically reduced. What other things have changed, right? India has moved on to what is called as inflation targetary monetary framework since 2015. What it means is that central bank is focused on maintaining inflation. The biggest reason for currency depreciation over the last 40 years was a different inflation rate in US, different inflation rate in India. So inflation was, say, 2% in US, but it was 8, 9, 10, 11% in India. If you analyze the last 10 years, inflation is actually reduced structurally in India. It's now 4%, right? So the differential between US interest rates and Indian interest rates has structurally changed. If you look at today, home loan is available at 7.5% in India. It's probably available at 6.5% in the US. So the differential is, which was 6% before, is today just probably a 1.5%, 2%. If we also look at what is today happening with the trade wars with the US, right? There is a parallel with 1971. So what happened in 1971, I'll quickly take 2 minutes to explain. So after 1945, World War II, the world came out with what is called as the Bretton Woods system for currencies, which means that the US set a price to gold of $35 per ounce, right? So 1 ounce of gold is worth $35, and every other currency, major currency like Japanese currency, pound, and German mark, all those currencies were tied to the US at a fixed rate. This helped a post-war boom, free trade, and a lot of economic development. Europe did well, Japan did well, US did well, right? But by 1971, what ended up happening was inflation was going higher in the US, unemployment was rising, and there So US had promised that anybody who comes with dollars to their central bank, they will give back gold in lieu of dollar, right? So there was a guarantee that whenever, if you say take these dollars and give me those gold at $35 per ounce, the US central bank will honor it. But the amount of dollars which were in circulation outside US was $40 billion, whereas the actual physical gold present with the central banks in 1971 was only $10 billion, right? And then Nixon came out with this, what is popularly known as the Camp David meeting between 13th August and 15th August 1971. And one big decision that they took at that time, because they were worried about the dollar, is that they abandoned what is called as the gold standard. So from tomorrow, no longer we will exchange our dollar for gold. What this was an indirect way of saying that please appreciate your currencies versus the dollar. You export too much to us, we export too less to you. This is an unsustainable trade balance, and this gold standard will no longer hold. So instead of saying that tomorrow, instead of the price of gold being $35, it will be $55, what they ended up saying is we will not give you gold in lieu of dollars. Indirectly, what ended up happening was dollar depreciated, the other currencies appreciated. If you also look, see, and they also imposed a 10% import tariff on all other countries, so that these countries come to the negotiating table and a new normal is established, right? This is exactly what is happening today. US is imposing tariffs on every other country and telling them, please start producing in the US. You export much more to us than what we export to you. This is an indirect way of actually saying that we want to depreciate the dollar and we want your currencies to get appreciated, right? If you also look at 1985 Plaza Accord between Germany, Japan and US, so the big decision at the Plaza Accord was, the Japanese yen will appreciate against the dollar, right? So they again depreciated the dollar. In my opinion, sometime in the next 2 to 3 years, that is exactly what is going to happen with the US dollar. 2 years, 3 years down the line, I think dollar will be at a much lower value compared to most of the other currencies. So the thought, in our conscious mind over the last 30, 40 years is that every year dollar will keep, rupee will keep depreciating and dollar will keep appreciating. 3 to 5 years down the line, I don't think, this statement is going to hold true. In fact, there will be a very hard reset of maybe, 20, 30, 40, 50% of dollar depreciation in the next few years. So to summarize, somebody who is outside India and looking to invest in India, A, you are getting a high growth economy with the best years ahead for us. And B, I don't think currency depreciation is any longer a big issue over the next 5 to 10 years.